All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, where we unpause and then repause. You gotta do that every time. Rumble has a few hijinks about it. We got a lot of news to talk about today, actually, and I've got it docketed. Everything is set up, and today is not a slow news day like yesterday. Yesterday it was basically, Rick Derringer died. That was sad, I'm just saying. Oh, I need to check one thing really quickly. Let me check my audio to make sure that the microphone is working. Yes, I believe so. I've always got to check that at the beginning of any stream because sometimes it decides to default to the system audio or to the Brio. I'm not exactly sure why that happens. If you've ever done any streaming, you probably know the feel. Just saying. So yeah, we're going to talk about some news. Trump voters, who are they? What do they want? We will answer that question. I can give an anecdote about that. We've got the Texas Republican primary. It looks like Paxton might actually be poised to knock off John Cornyn. I remember making the Cornyn video where he has a thick British accent, actually. A posh accent. Of course, in real life he doesn't, but I thought it was funny at the time. I might have been a little bit inebriated when I made that video, by the way. Clueless. Democrats spend $20 million to figure out how to talk to men. I am shitting you not. I'm from Gen Z. I know why Democrats are losing young men. We're not a mystery, we're a movement. So this is sort of a Twain articles, basically, along the same lines. We'll be talking a lot about Gen Z today, actually. Turley on Trump v. Harvard. This is a war of attrition, and Harvard's going to lose. We're going to do a nuanced take with regards to Trump's war on Harvard, actually. And finally, are Gen Z Republicans a blip or a trend? This ties in with, again, one of the previous articles. Maleness and Gen Z-ness are kind of twain at this point. And the Democrats are handily losing. They're managing to out-Republican the Republicans at the moment, actually. Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it means to be a slave. Copium poppies. Not a slow news day. How many Epstein pedos have been hung? Sadly, none of them. Yet. Again, we have to wait because I'm assuming that there are ongoing investigations into some of those cases. So, if you know anything about the legal system, that can take many months. It can even take years. What do fuck? Shout out for YouTuber Lewis. Rolling Earth ship. He was killed in a motorcycle accident earlier this month. I had lunch with him in March. Good guy. Rest in peace, my man. That's sad. Yeah, we're losing YouTubers left and right. Like Simply Sarah died, a month and a half ago, actually. Which is really sad. Me and Liz used to watch Simply Sarah constantly, actually, because, it was always amusing, and sometimes the food was actually good, so, that was, sad, Apparently she was a bitch in real life, but at the same time, when you're entertaining, when your entire job is simply creating content to entertain, and you are, well, yeah, you can do worse in life. So yeah, we got all sorts of stuff to talk about today. First, we'll get to our sponsors, though. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills, and I take them every single morning. I don't know where I put my bottle, actually. I took them, but then I misplaced the bottle. That's a real big problem. You can also get doggy treats now. I'm hoping that they make kitty treats, like little fishy snacks for the cats. Give them some mushrooms too. Everyone should eat more mushrooms. Most people don't realize that there are 10 trillion gallons of mushrooms out in the woods every single year, and most of them go to waste because everyone thinks that they're poisonous. It's rather sad, actually. We have BiltongUSA.com, the land of biltong, obviously. Anton can hook you up with all sorts of sweet meats, and trust me, they're really, really great. I'm partial to the carbonaceae. I'm just saying that's good for hunting, camping, and so forth. Stuff it in your pocket. Bear wanders up to you. You just throw them the carbonaceae. They're not going to bother eating you. Just saying. We've also got Sticks, X, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available, as well as other things. He's got a whole ton of. We've got Bovrite, which again I forgot to bring up. Damn it. Normally I eat it when Anton shows up so he can say too salty. I just find that funny. And finally, jamandbean.com. That is jamnbean.com. The home of Clanker Coffee, which is the best coffee that you will ever have. Just saying. Along with various other coffees, and also tea is available. Both caffeinated and herbal teas. And use code STICKS on all of these sites for a discount. Those are our sponsors. Yeah, proud clankers. And again, I will never pitch anything that I myself do not want to use. My perfect day is basically, hey, I don't have to work today. We're going to eat a bag of biltong, and maybe some of Anton's goji berries, by the way. Those are delicious. And sip down a cup of Clanker coffee, and maybe a couple of cups of that very, very good Yunnan-jig tea. And then we'll use that to wash down the mushroom pills. You'll be on cloud 9. Just trust me on that one. Yes, anyone who wants to sponsor the channel, you have to clear the product with me first. Because I'm not going to push anything that I don't myself support. Just not sort of my thing, you know? Jordan Cogberg. Biltong? No, Biltong. Biltong. And it's delicious, let me tell you. I think he's got like 20 varieties available now or something. Even got game meat. Like there's bison and all sorts of stuff. Hillbilly and lion's mane. Yeah, lion's mane is also tasty on its own, but when extracted, it seems to have an interesting effect. Luke, can I sponsor you with Canadian maple syrup? Well, I take pay for sponsorships, honestly. I cannot do it for free. In the past, I had gotten sponsors that were simply sending me like material goods. I figured I couldn't do that anymore. Not in this economy. Last beacon. What's really funny is that they try to stop here, just a sec. The Trump tariffs, and it only gets a temporary boost in the market, and now it's falling. Yeah, earlier today I made a video on this. Blatantly unconstitutional. Before we get to the other news, I'm going to reiterate on this. The courts blocked Donald Trump's Tariff Act. That is that apparently, and this was unbeknown to me, every prior president was allowed to enable tariffs because of a 1977 act which allowed the president to do so. Apparently, that's no longer in force. The court's saying, no, you're not allowed to do that. Not these tariffs. No, Orange Man bad. And that's basically what it amounts to. It's moronic. King of Biltong, Anton is here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, too. Good sir. Yeah, we've got all sorts of cool clankers around here. Just a second here. Okay. We're going to get to the first news story. This one will be fairly quick. I just wanted to put this to the fore because it's an easily answered question. Trump voters, who are they? What do they want? Oh, teacher, me. Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what I want. Who are they? Well, I'm one of them. What do I want? I want Donald Trump to not start any new wars. I want him to move in an expedited fashion to secure the border. I want tax relief because literally everyone in the country is paying too many taxes. That's what I want. And preferably, don't say anything that causes problems. Mean tweets are fine. In fact, I encourage Donald Trump to make more mean tweets because they're fucking funny. But beyond that, Really, if he can only accomplish that very small list of goals, he'll have already done, I mean, he's already done better than the prior administration, and he's not even in office for a year, so, but that's a fairly low standard, so I would hope that he does more. If he can get the Republicans to hold rank on tax relief and get discretionary funding for the border wall and continue deporting people and so forth, then he'll already have been massively better than the prior administration. I'm asking, therefore, for something that's bare minimum, basically. Now, he can accomplish this easily, and I have a feeling that he will. Beyond that, everything else is a bonus more than anything else. The bonus holes. Yeah, everything beyond that is basically like just piling it on. You've already got your meal. But now he's giving you all sorts of other side dishes and desserts and drinks and all sorts of things. That's basically how I look at Trump at the moment. So yes, I am a Trump voter. So I'm part of them. And those are the things that I want. I want to pay less taxes, be more secure. Oh yes, and it would be a real big bonus if you would simply abolish the concept of government censorship and bring back American control of ICANN, things like that. That would be nice. Yeah. And I have a feeling that most of you out there fundamentally agree with me on this, by the way. The humidity is exceptionally high right now. I think there's an allergen in the breeze. I've been coughing all morning, unfortunately. I'm all sniffy. Cap and stems. How about a little something for the scurvy? Yeah, no, there's some lemons down there right now. In fact, thank you for reminding me. One of the things, there's a delicious salad down there. It's got beet greens and arugula, and then it's got a dressing on it, a vinaigrette, and also strawberry and pineapple. So it's sort of a combination salad. Delicious, by the way. But one thing that I did forget to add was lemon juice, actually. Thank you for reminding me. Copium poppies, rip the bonus holes. Fuck Elon for being a censorious piece of dog shit and killing them. They had the potential to be a great band. By the way, look up the song Dog Shit by G.G. Allen. It's fucking hilarious. I mean, everything that he made was hilarious. It's funny, Gigi, who is from the same state as me, New Hampshire, namely, born in the same state, although I've lived most of my life in Vermont, in New York City at the moment, he had this, like, weird album, I think it was called Carmelita, and he was doing, like, acoustic music there, that particular album. Even then, though, he's, like, the only person that makes like hard rock punk, something like that, who can pull off like the acoustic sound and still be hilarious. Cyndi Lauper failed at that. Annie Lennox failed at that. I had a crush on Annie Lennox as a child. Once I saw Sweet Dreams, I was like, oh my. Sometimes I'm into tomboys, what can I say? 2026 Texas Senate Republican primary. We've got a couple of polls, actually, fairly recently. We've only got a couple, so keep in mind this is not a full aggregate. We've got TSU YouGov and Qantas Insights showing that Ken Paxton is ahead in the aggregate by 7.5 points against John Cornyn. It is the Cornyn. Yeah, Cornyn is well behind, and then Hunt, doesn't fucking matter. Nobody cares. So it looks like Ken Paxton might actually get a Senate seat. He might be able to knock out John Cornyn. I am very much hoping that this happens. Normally, I'm not a fan of a political party knocking off its own incumbents, because the incumbent advantage is very advantageous. But in this particular singular instance, I'm going to be rooting for Ken Paxton. Because John Cornyn has been a goddamn rolling disaster now for the better part of a decade. He has not done his job. He is not representing the will of his constituents. It's quite clear that he's nothing more than like a Bushite neocon. So I'm hoping that Cornine gets knocked out by Ken Paxton. Yes. And Paxton would go on to easily win in a general election, so there's no real problem. 92 Cat. He'd been great as AG. Yeah, Paxton has been heavily embattled. The Uniparty seems to hate him. If you're hated by the Uniparty, I think the tendency is that you're better than a Unipartyist. I would think that you are superior to them. So I am definitely Team Paxton. I believe that Donald Trump has endorsed him as well. Uh, yeah, I believe he made an endorsement. Let me see. Let's see. Yes, he has endorsed Ken Paxton. So it looks like John Cornine will no longer be in the Senate, most likely. This is good news, by the way. I mean, this is Texas. This is a fairly safely red region of the world. So I don't think Paxton would have any difficulties in being actually elected in the general. So there's no huge risk in primarying Cornine out. And Cornine has been cluttering up the Senate for a while anyway, and he's been consistently TDS, anti-populist, and so forth. So, just get rid of him, shuffle him on his merry way. He gets his Senate pension and all of these things, and probably has made hundreds of millions of dollars in insider trading like everyone else in Congress does. So don't worry, you won't be inconveniencing him too much. It'll be fine for him. John Lincoln, Sticks, what is New York like? Were there thunderstorms? No thunderstorms, actually, although there was a lot of rain yesterday. It's quite nice, actually. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with New York City. I thought that I was going to hell. Instead, I found myself in a place that's relatively nice. I mean, I'm assuming it depends on the neighborhood. That's the way it tends to work in big cities. Same with New Orleans. When I was in New Orleans, if you're in the downtown parts of the French Quarter and so forth, Bourbon Street, it's rather nice. It's very, very friendly. I mean, there are scammers and stuff like that, and the occasional pickpocket, but other than that, it's perfectly safe. There's no problem. But if you go into the bad neighborhoods, it's going to be a little bit different. Same as in my hometown of Rutland. There is no danger to you whatsoever if you're in downtown Rutland, or in Rutland town and most parts east. If you go into the gut, then things can get a little bit dicey sometimes. Copium Poppies, Trump is a neocon too. He endorsed Lindsey Graham. Yeah, I didn't like the fact that he endorsed Lindsey Graham, but in that particular instance, I think he did that for politically pragmatic reasons. Meanwhile, knocking off Cornine is not going to result in a loss in Congress, so there's no reason to back John Cornine. So he is trying to pick off the neocons. He's just picking and choosing which ones to remove, I think. Which makes sense. It's called pragmatism. Maroon Tang. Goodness. Yeah, some people really like the pirate getup and some people really hate it. I personally like it, therefore I'm going to wear it. Democrats' war on men. Clueless. Democrats spend $20 million to figure out how to talk to men. No shitting you. The New York Times was the first to report on the proposal, known as SAM for short. How mimetic. As they explain, SAM promises investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in male spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games, among other things. Democrats, please. Can I please explain something to the liberals that hate watch my videos? Of which there are several dozen on board probably right now. Can I explain something? Things have got to be more organic than that. You can't simply spend out the nose in order to try to figure out how to talk to the male species. It's very funny because I thought male and female didn't exist at all anyway. Huh, how interesting. It turns out that there is a duality with regards to these two groups, but only for political reasons. I suppose I can give birth out of my penis, and a girl can knock me up in fucking me. But we're totally different for political purposes and linguistic purposes. I'm making a joke here, but as somebody who is skilled in linguistics, look, I've edited over 400 books. I've written several dozen. I'm writing several more at the moment. As somebody who has studied this, even at the literal psyop level, I can tell you a lot about language. Focusing on how to talk to men in an inorganic fashion is retarded. It's not going to work. It makes absolutely no sense. This reminds me of Elizabeth Warren's meme team. You remember that? Some of you probably do. They made exactly one meme, by the way. It fell flat. And it was basically like watching the shittiest comedian get on stage and try to make people laugh by simply farting into the microphone or something like that. It's basically how it went over. Elizabeth Warren's meme team was an exceptionally expensive venture into trying to astroturf her popularity online. It did not work, as you can tell, and she's still in office somehow. Not exactly sure how. I guess she managed to accomplish that. Again, incumbent advantage, I suppose. Other than that, though, it got wrecked. I mean, the meme army that she was trying to create itself became the meme. And I laughed my ass off. It was almost as funny as the Chaz Guard, and I laughed every minute of that. Just know that I was posting on 4chan frequently around those days. Good times. Not gonna lie, I have a little bit of nostalgia for those particular days. That being said, with regards to male outreach, doing a study, paying a bunch of money to have like a roundtable discussion about how you're going to do male outreach isn't going to work. It's self-evident. Men want to be men. Most of us do not want to wear a pink skirt or something like that. But the Democrats don't seem to fucking understand this. They seem to think, oh, it's a broad plethora. No. Stereotypes exist for a reason. Just saying. I'm not going to wear the pink skirt, eat the bugs, and things like that. It's not going to happen. You're going to have trouble getting me to vote for your political party if I find out that you're spending tens of millions of dollars just trying to figure out how to talk to me. I mean, aren't there men within the Democratic Party? They probably know how to talk to men because they happen to be men. I would think that it would be fairly straightforward. You don't need to pay for this shit. What the hell are you doing with your life? I have absolutely no clue at this point. It's like completely ridiculous. Completely fucktarded. The Napalm Brothers. One in the pink and one in the stink. That works, although sometimes you need 2 or 3 in the pink. Copium Poppies. Arrest Congress 2025. Indefinite detention provision for the win. That would be funny. At this point, most members of Congress probably deserve to be arrested. Between the drug usage, insider trading, and other various scandals of assorted types, most of them have committed multiple felonies, let alone the number of misdemeanors they've conducted themselves with. Bobby sticks Kuckenhammer. No, actually. Cygnus, who's in prison? I'm in prison right now. It's called a body. I made a video on that this morning. By the way, I did not actually do my normal due diligence in liking and reading various comments on those videos. I'll do that after the live stream. Don't worry, I won't forget. I've got a shit ton to do today, though. I'm writing a book called Nutty Norman. It's about a very troubled child who situationally just goes crazy randomly in various situations and does terrible things. It's not like Morbid Stories, although it's got a similar kind of thematic element. Morbid Stories is a simple series of compiled vignettes. Nutty Norman is meant to be more like an actual book. It's not going to be terribly long, but it is going to be funny. Oh man, I was laughing so goddamn hard when I wrote the last section of it. I've got it all lined up and ready to go. Mike L, 20 million to lie and gaslight more effectively. Yeah, they've tried this before. It's like, at what point do you learn your lesson? You know, you would think so, eventually. I realize that the Democrats are almost as unintelligent as the Republicans in the political sense, but Jesus H. Christ, at least you've shown some sense of strategy in the past. Right now, you're basically wandering around in the wasteland just moaning and begging for God to save you or something, I guess. I'm from Gen Z. Well, I'm not, but this person is. I know why Democrats are losing young men. We're not a mystery, we're a movement. Party's multi-million-dollar effort to study male voter exodus criticized as out of touch with Gen Z voters. Yeah, no shit, you're losing young voters. Well, hey kid, I want you to vote for us. Okay, what's your platform? Well, I want you to go to war and die, and then when you're dead, you're gonna owe a bunch of taxes. Oh, yeah, that's gonna go over real well. Look, the Democrats right now sound like Bush Republicans. This is probably why they're getting hammered by the liberal legacy media as well. You sound like, you would have voted for George W., some time ago. 20 years ago. It's like this W, and you're doing the Murica thing too, which is also inexplicable. I mean, I just don't understand it. The parties have actually undergone the mythological flip that used to be a mythology. You remember when, supposedly, many decades ago, the Republicans flipped and became the party of racism, and the Democrats became like a left populist movement? Well, I guess they've flipped back now. The Democrats do embody racism, they embody war, they embody idpol instead of unity. Pretty much everything that supposedly the Nixon Republicans embodied, actually. It's very, very interesting now, isn't it? Oh yeah, the party's flipped. It's just that they did that a couple of years ago instead of decades ago. Yeah. I mean, it's insane, too, to watch because you should know that that kind of platform is not going to be popular. It's not going to be palatable to the average voter. So why would you adopt it? And the answer is quite clear, actually. What's happened is that the left was whining, I mean, the liberals were whining and dining like the far left, the AOCs and shit, and absorbed them in order to get their votes. And this encompasses a large number of those youth voters, by the way, that are, in the Democratic Party. And they kept letting them down. Finally, the Democratic Party decided to give them more than peanuts and breadcrumbs. And now they've infected the party. And now they're taking over the party. And so traditionally, the left has been the movement of racism, has been the movement of sexism, anti-male in this case, mostly. And so you can understand why intelligent males are not voting for your movement, because they're going to vote their self-interest. This is also why you're losing the Latino vote, but they don't understand this. They're too retarded to understand it. Oh well, sucks to be you. At some point your party will collapse and hopefully, you'll get back to being reasonable at some point. Copium poppies, all of them. Afuera. Even if they didn't directly do anything, they are complicit. Also, voting in favor of war is politically motivated violence, which is the definition of terrorism. No trial is necessary. Yeah, I agree, unless the war is strictly defensive, so someone has physically invaded the United States, or potentially a close ally. I don't believe in doing jack shit. I believe in leaving people alone. Not my fight. I mean, I'm not signing up. I'm not carrying a battle rifle. So I don't have the right to ask somebody else who's younger than me to do the same thing. Brock Sampson. Democrats, how can we convince men to vote for us while offering nothing, not changing our agenda or our message? I hope they keep this up. Yeah, I mean, I do. I hope that they continue to bonk themselves in the head, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're being moronic beyond words. I've seen some crazy shit in politics, like, I'm old enough to remember the Bush administration and the Obama administration and a little bit of the Clinton administration and so forth. And there's been some crazy stuff that's gone on. Clinton trying to explain how he smoked weed without smoking weed, George W. trying to explain anything, and so forth. That being said, I've never seen a move that's quite so stupid as this one. Tens of millions of dollars in order to figure out how to communicate with the male species, while also saying that maleness doesn't exist, and saying that it's toxic. So it exists, but it doesn't exist. It's like Schrodinger's male or something like that. It exists while not existing, depending on the circumstance. If we believe that we can exploit the concept, it exists. If we believe that we're losing on the concept, it's not actually real, and, you're not actually a male, you should wear a skirt, or something like that. Jesus. I don't even understand it, because usually the Democrats are the more strategic party, generally speaking, because they're more centralized. The Republicans have the advantage of more grassroots movement, and therefore in the meme era, they've gained an advantage on that. Whereas the Democrats need a focus group, apparently in order to talk to males. So you're saying that there are no male Democrats able to talk to male voters and tell them, hey, no, on the sly, hey, I don't actually hate the fact that I have a dick. That's basically all you gotta do, but they haven't thought of that yet. I don't understand. I'm trying to understand. They've been analyzing politics since the late 2000s, and I just don't fucking get it. It's been almost 20 goddamn years at this point. I don't know. It's inexplicable. Turley on Trump v. Harvard. This is a war of attrition, and Harvard's going to lose. Nuance time. We're putting on our nuance hats. Number one. On the surface, I support Trump. I support the idea of defunding Harvard. Harvard is a propagandistic edifice. They are clearly more than left-leaning. It's a little bit beyond that at this point. It's pretty much inarguable. Also, a bunch of the elites go there, and, people who are clearly unqualified to do anything. They get philosophy degrees and shit like that, and then they end up shitting up DC, increasing our problems as a nation. So don't think that I'm being sympathetic for Harvard when I say this. But at the same time, Donald Trump is getting distracted by a side issue. He needs to focus on taxes, the border, diplomacy, things of that nature, things that affect the average person. Harvard does not affect the average person beyond the more abstract concept of it supplying DC with a bunch of crooked lawyers and stuff like that. The average person is not going to comprehend this, though, and the Trump administration does not have the right messaging to bring that concept forward to the public and make it stick. He would be called a conspiracy theorist and get cut to pieces by the legacy media. What he needs to do, therefore, in my opinion, is semi-ignore the issue. Do not make this a forefront issue. This is not on the front burner in the American populace desire range. Front burner is border and taxes and inflation and things like that. Those are your front burner issues. And immigration and diplomacy to an extent too, I would say. This is a back burner issue. You need to use, if I had to give any advice to the Trump administration, I would say use Eisenhower's four-square system. And I've talked about this several times. Take a square, make a Punnett square, of course. You have the horizontal and vertical dimensions. Is it important? Is it time sensitive? If it's important and time sensitive, like, hey, the border's wide open like Swiss cheese, the American people can't even buy fucking bread, you should probably get to that right away. If it's not really important, but it is time sensitive, you can delegate that to someone else. If it's not time sensitive or important, you generally ignore it until you get everything else done. And then, of course, if it's important, but it's not particularly time sensitive, those issues wait for later. This is one of those issues. Is it of import? Yes, addressing educational concerns is absolutely important. But this is not a time sensitive issue. It's not nearly as time sensitive as the border, the budget, things of that nature, war, and so forth. Those need to be the priority. Delegate as much as possible to your cabinet, your staff, whoever, back to Congress, whoever it happens to be. Get that out of your way and wait on issues like this until the major issues are taken care of. Now, Trump has already made progress on several of these issues. Good. Excellent. Like I said, he's doing better in this term than he did in the prior term. Use Eisenhower's Punnett Square and use that to delegate. Use that to figure out what you're going to do on that particular day. Because there's only a limited amount that one person can do, and when you only have one chief executive, he's the only one that can sign or veto a bill. He's the only one who conducts, at the toppest level, diplomacy. He's the only one who is commanding the military, although he's probably going to get stripped of that power by the courts at any given moment, too. One person can only do so much. Everyone's got 24 hours in a day. So he needs to delegate, I think, more of these things to others and get them out of his way and start ignoring some of these side issues in order to focus on the more major issues. That would be a good idea. Yeah, Eisenhower had it down to a science. Now, Eisenhower probably also had Patton killed, so I'm not saying that he was necessarily a good person. That being said, he did have a very rigorous system with regards to how he planned the things that he was going to do. Some things were immediate. Some things could wait, but they were still important, so you get to them after you do the immediate things. Some things were time sensitive, but they weren't particularly important. Somebody else can handle that shit. And if neither is the case, then basically when you're on vacation, you can handle those. Makes sense. It's a very efficient methodology. I employ it myself, actually. Bobby, Styx Pirate Feet content when? Yeah, I've actually thought about posting my feed online just as a joke. There are other creators who have done that as a joke, and sometimes it becomes very mimetic. John Lincoln, what was wrong with Patton? Patton wanted to become the president of the United States and bomb the Russians. He wanted to go to war with the Soviet Union. And so they assassinated him, because the whole goal was simply to keep up the atomic arms race and not start a war at all. Cap and stems. What about the secret square, where you stick all the things you want to hide from the people? Yeah, I guess there's a fifth square. That's the CIA square. Huh. Yeah, Patton, I would have preferred a future in which Patton did actually prevail. Was not killed, became president of the United States, and we just got it done with the Soviet Union. The Iron Curtain sort of thing never would have been a thing, and we would have prevailed. We had much less war attrition and a much greater atomic capability. We could have done it. And then there would not have been a Cold War. Of course, that means you wouldn't have had all that great 80s music. God damn. Now I'm conflicted. Patriarch Andrew James. So you think the GOP will ultimately screw the pooch on Doge cuts? Unfortunately, it looks like it. And it looks like the judiciary is going to prevent Trump from imposing his tariffs, generally speaking, so I don't know. It's just a goddamn mess at the moment. Trump is going to have to ram a lot of shit through. Oh, yeah, I'm all sniffy and shit. I think that the pine trees are blooming at the moment or something. I'm not 100% sure. I was hopeful because usually that happens like around late April, early May. And so it's not a problem, this time of year, but now I feel like I've got a cold, but I know that it's not a cold, it's allergies. Mike the Wop, are you foot fetish people could probably get a peek looking in the reflection in his glasses. That would be amazingly funny to me if somebody was actually that desperate to see my feet. It would please me greatly. It's probably already happened. Jesus H. Christ. Watched Full Metal Jacket the other day, by the way. Had fun doing that. Then watched Blade Runner, actually, in the evening. Great movie. You know, the only time that Harrison Ford got upstaged. Rutger Hauer. Dutch, by the way. Again, mimetic. Very, very great movie. Tears in the Rain. Ha ha ha. The ultimate cinematic masterpiece. Apparently, he got people to cry when he was rehearsing. Let's see. Oh, only one left. Well, I'll check the science news too. Don't worry, we can get to some ants too. Are Gen Z Republicans a blip or a trend? Again, let me answer the question. A lot of you didn't believe me when I said the kids are all right, stop worrying. Then all of a sudden the last election happened and you're like, oh shit, Gen Z is more conservative than us millennials, because the majority of you are in my age range, late 20s through early 40s. That's my core audience. And people told me that I was nuts. They said, no, 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 the kids are so far left. What happened with young Gen Z males? Oh, they generally voted for Trump. I told you that this would happen. The kids are all right. Don't worry about them. Worry about yourself. Worry about the millennial generation. You know, the boomers, they're slowly dying out at this point. Gen X has somehow become the responsibility generation. Did you ever see that coming, by the way? A few of you are probably Gen X. Did you ever expect that there would come a day when yours would be considered the responsible generation? The one that's more, astute and, business-like and stuff like that. I don't think anyone had that on their bingo cards. Millennials have stubbornly resisted actually coming to their goddamn senses, generally speaking. This is why I feel like a voice in the wilderness sometimes. And then Gen Z, meanwhile, has become a bunch of moralists. Like, you've got fucking cottagecore, you've got a massively declined rate of people fucking and using drugs, which I find sad. Basically, goddamn, Gen Z is almost like the boring generation or something like that. It's actually hilarious when you think about it. People half my age, and they're like, "Oh no, I never saw a cigarette." I'm like, what? I find it really, really funny. Like, beyond just amusing, like Jazz Garden levels of funny. Oh yeah, the youth has become the moral movement. Lord help us all. And then the Middle Ages were all like a bunch of wackadoodles and shit like that. Patriotic vegan. Gen X here? No, I thought I'd still be drinking from the garden hose and sniffing strawberry shortcake's hair. Yeah. I like being a millennial. Specifically, I like being a millennial that woke up and got past the bullshit. Because when I was younger, and I've told this story, some of you may not have heard it, I was liberal. I considered myself a liberal because I saw the chaos of the Bush administration when I was, young and into my teens. And I said, well, this is retarded. And so I voted Obama and conceived of myself as a liberal. It wasn't until Ron Paul woke me up to the reality that there were more than two political ideologies that it really sort of got into my head and I sort of realized what was going on. And I said, shit. And by shit, I mean fuck. I realized that I had been wrong, and so I voted Ron Paul in 2012, and the rest is history. You would have a vastly different Styx Hexenhammer if it weren't for Ron Paul, so a salute to him as well. Daniel Price, you're one sad, sad little bitch. I love it when people insult me too, because it gives me the opportunity to chuckle. Metal Mouth. Not all members of Gen Z are complete idiots. There are a few good members of Gen Z. That's more applicable to the millennial generation, to Gen Y. Uh, Most of Gen Z is pretty good, actually. Like they understand it more. It's just the fact that there are a handful of idiots like David Hogg and other Gen Zers that get astroturfed, and so they're the only ones that you hear from. And because of algorithmic distortion and shit like that and censorship in general, you don't get to hear from all of the Gen Zers that are doing exactly what every other young generation does, trolling the establishment. What is the establishment at the moment? The Uniparty. The Uniparty, universally disliked by everybody who is outside of the orthodox metrics, so to speak. Arr, you're all doomed. Ahoy, matey. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Can't wait to get back to New Orleans and dress like this again. Although here, when I went out to Times Square, I got a lot of people who complimented me on the hat too. So apparently, piracy is common in New York. Copium poppies. We need a law that at 18 years old you are required to smoke a breakthrough dose of DMT as a rite of passage if you want to be able to vote. Our nation needs a new rite of passage. Hmm. Only if there's an excuse where you can use salvia instead, because it's gonna have about the same effect anyway. Yeah, salvia was one of the drugs that I used the most. Salvia and morning glory, actually. It's funny, I was never really a heavy weed smoker, though. I mean, I overdosed on spice, which was the result of weed being illegal. Thank you, state of Vermont. Real cool, by the way. At least you got me to drop out of university so that I could do this for a living instead of being in a lab coat all day or something like that, being a burger flipper. I suppose I should thank the state of Vermont for keeping weed illegal for an excessive period of time. But really, the best I had was LSD. And the most common that I had was LSA, which is Morning Glory, and Salvia divinorum, actually. I used it quite frequently for a while. One thing that you've got to do, disclaimer, this is not medical advice, I'm just giving you my opinion. In my opinion, it's a good idea to always start off on a very small dose of any drug you have not used before. And of course, you need to get it from a trusted source. You don't want to buy it from the sketchy back alley. That's a bad idea unless you want to die of a fentanyl overdose or something. And then, you can gradually go up from there. But I've seen people freak out all the time about salvia, for example. This is why I'm telling you this. People freak out about salvia. And you're like, well, why did you freak out? Oh, I had a terrible trip. Okay. How much did you smoke and what extraction level was it? Oh, it was 200 times extracted and I smoked the whole bong. No shit, you had a bad trip. You probably felt like you were lost in time and that 100 years had passed because you were completely blasted. That's not the way to do it. First time I used it, I used a 5 times extract, and I carefully took one hit, and then I waited for the effect. And there was very little. So then I took the 5 times extract and took 2 hits. And I got this weird sensation. It felt like things were rubbing past the right side of my body, if that makes sense. Third time, I took 3 hits. And then I got, sort of the full effects. It felt like I was inside of a tornado filled with lightning or something like that. And then I went from there. You have to know your limits, and you have to get used to these substances. If you do not, I can almost guarantee you will have a bad trip. And we don't want that. Brock Sampson, so basically the Democrat Party is fucked, so it's up to liberal judges now to screw with Trump's authority. Yeah, actually, that's literally what's happening. It's rather sad when you think about it. Copium poppies. Nah, salvia isn't reliable. It doesn't work half the time. Never worked for me. Straight DMT. Maybe ayahuasca is a substitute. Well, they call ayahuasca La Purga for a reason. I tried brewing it once. It did work. It's just that I puked in all over myself. Unfortunately, keeping it down long enough to actually absorb the effects is the problem. It's used as a purgative, actually, in native cultures, certain native cultures. But I preferred salvia. Salvia is easy. If you get the right extraction from the right source, it will work. It's not unreliable in my experience. Copium. Smoking DMT while already frying on acid or shrooms can be scary. Proceed with caution. Yeah, disclaimer, I've got to officially disown the idea of doing that. That sounds like a terrible idea. Sounds like you'd basically think that you went to hell, probably. And not the fun hell. Not the one with the blackjack and hookers. No, I did pretty much every soft drug under various circumstances. One time, haha, funny story. When I was doing the student alumni calling, right? It was a miserable job. Fucking hated it. And figured, I'm asking people who are already in debt on student loans to give more money to the university. This is morally wrong. And so I started sabotaging calls, and then they call me in. Of course, they finally caught me. It took them a while. Fucking retards. And they finally call me in, and then I get fired, of course. And the first thing I did, go back to the dorm and drop LSD. Let me tell you, that was one of the best nights in my life. Just saying. I didn't like shrooms, though. Those were a little bit much for me, but that's because I took too much of them the first time. It wasn't my fault, though. I figured, well, it's psilocybin. This baggie is a dose. Nope, it was homegrown, organic, hippy-trippy azaresin, so it was actually 4 doses. Whoops, I made a mistake. That was on me. Not my fault technically, but I should have known better. I just didn't want to lose the high. I didn't want to like eat one cap and then like it doesn't do anything because I don't want to waste my money because I'm a poor starving college student. Oh, I don't know what pine trees are fucking right now, but they really got me fucked. Sir Thomas Drake. Voting rights dependent on whether someone has been to Triangle Land and met the machine elves or not is a decent policy. Yeah, I never met any machine elves when I was doing drugs, but I saw a lot of other weird shit. Let's just say that watching Alice in Wonderland on LSD hits totally different. It's like I was a little bit depressed because I'm like, ah, shit, I'm not going to get any money from this job anymore because I've been fired. Once I started watching Alice in Wonderland, I was like, but who cares? Copium poppies. There were hellish moments. It's how I achieved ego death. Oh yeah, I've achieved that. Also, recently, I managed to open up every one of my chakras. I have experienced the serpent fire. I'll talk about that in a future video, by the way. Oh, I've been utilizing that fairly regularly. It's not difficult. I'm surprised. It just takes a long time to get to that point. King of Biltong. Biltong is one of the highest protein snacks in the world, boasting nearly 50% protein. Yum. And packed with B12, creatine, iron, zinc, and more. Visit www.biltongusa.com and use code STICKS for 10% off. That means you can get 10% more biltong. I see this as a positive arrangement. Lev Polyakov, meet Styx this Sunday on the BTR New York City show by joining patreon.com/breaktherules. Yes, indeed, I will be on BTR. I will be physically in the actual studio location on this Sunday. This is not a debate, this is a discussion, John Lincoln. I think. Cap and stems, your root chakra has been compromised. No, it started off by doing bodily meditation. So you sort of, if I can explain it to people who haven't done this, you feel parts of your body. And it helps if you move top to bottom, bottom to top, and sort of go back and forth. It sounds, stupid and maybe boring, but it actually works. At some point, you can actually, and I can do it literally right now, even while I'm speaking. You can literally activate, especially the chest chakra, and you'll literally get like a rush, a weird feeling. It feels like you're releasing energy from your body, and you can utilize your intent behind that energy for various effects. I've done this on a number of occasions, and it does work. Um, I don't know how skilled you have to be in the mystic in order to do this, but I've managed to do so. And it's fun. It feels good. It feels like a sort of weird energetic sensation, especially centered around the chest, in my case. Maybe that's my natural chakra. I don't know. Maybe for other people it's down in their dick or vagina or something like that. I have no way of knowing. But it does do things mystically. I'll have to talk about this tomorrow. Brock Sampson, a friend of mine, dropped acid in Disneyland, specifically Mickey's Toontown. It was intense, so I've heard. I can imagine. Seeing Mickey Mouse on drugs would probably be terrifying. Apparently, Hamas has like a Mickey Mouse look-alike character or something that they use on their show. I was watching that last night. Had random YouTube videos on. Apparently, it was news to me. Copium poppies, but yeah, I tried some of the higher salvia extracts as well as the plain leaf. The most that happened was when I felt there was an earthquake for a few seconds or something. Or then nothing. You must have gotten it from a disreputable source then, because I'm telling you, even on the lower extracts, I had significant effects after only a few uses. Tasmanaut, have you heard of Qigong? Taoist meditation practice. Little different terminology, but similar. Yes, I've heard of that. I use bodily meditation, and when I focus my energy and when I fire it out, then I put my intent behind it, so to speak. Um, Multiple effects have been happening as a result of this. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage, in your opinion, what would the reaction be if Trump started ignoring these judges? Eventually, he would get removed from office. In the immediate sense, though, probably he might get impeached, but they wouldn't have the votes to remove, so I don't know exactly what they would do about it. Um, I don't know. Brock Sampson, yeah, they're putting fentanyl on almost everything now. Too dangerous to play around. Yeah, unless you're getting your substances from some place that's reputable, which usually would not mean a government sanctioned place, but rather someone that you happen to know and trust, it's probably better not to use drugs, actually. I can understand why Gen Z is using less drugs, actually, than millennials, specifically because of the fucking fentanyl. I wouldn't want to go out and buy street weed right now, you fucking crazy? Even buying from a dispensary, how the hell do you know that there's not a little fentanyl in there, too? It's me again. Hey, Sticks, fire out some energy to fix this shit. Why did you say, where the fuck am I? I'm in New York City. Having a great time, by the way. Made a salad the other day. Delicious, by the way. Yeah. Arugula and beet greens with a nice vinaigrette, as I said before. Strawberries and pineapple. And violets, actually. I forgot to mention there are violet flowers in there. Did you know that you can eat violets? Most people don't. I didn't know until recently. You can also eat hollyhocks. You can eat marsh marigolds. Apparently, all parts of these plants are edible. You can eat burdock roots. I've had that before. I've actually got some burdock root soup here that I brought, and it's delicious. Thank you, JD. Yeah, if you have not tried burdock root, I strongly recommend that you get like an Asian style burdock soup. It's delicious. It's like a 10 out of 10. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm gonna go offline a little bit early now, because the trees are quite clearly beginning to fornicate with one another. And I don't know exactly which tree it is, but I'm all hoarse, so hopefully I improve by later, get to dock at my work and so forth. It would be bad to have multiple. Well, normally it lasts for about a week, actually. I used to think I was getting colds as a kid because I react so strongly to certain types of pollen. Somebody asked the other day why my cheeks appeared swollen. Well, now I know the answer. Yeah, it's very sad. I don't do well with tree sperm, it seems. Yeah. You spend years not getting COVID or anything else like that, but then trees fucking, make you miserable. Never happened in the Netherlands, by the way. There's not a pine tree in sight. So I never had a problem. I spent 5 years almost never getting sick once other than food poisoning. Thank you, French people, for that escargot that time. Real cool. That's about all. Peace out.